And anything that has the name fragrance in it, you can believe those flowers are going to be smelly. And I had somebody in the other day that said the plant literally drove her out of her house until she figured out where the smell was coming from. And it's a sweet smell. It's not a bad smell. It's like cheap perfume. I mean, you only take so much of it. But yeah, sometimes cutting the flowers off of plants inside, plants that are grown primarily for their foliage, yeah, cut the flowers off and you'll be better off. If you're looking for color inside, bromeliads are also a good choice. Again, you have to come to the bromeliad lecture if you want to talk a lot about these things. But this isn't the flower. The flowers are down in here. These are the colorful bracts. The flowers on this are not real showy. These are the colorful bracts. But that color can remain for months and months with almost no care. So these things are great inside where you're looking for wonderful, beautiful color, but they are not permanent plants and they will not retain that color indefinitely inside. So if you got to have flowering plants indoors, you're pretty much going to rotate them through. There's not anything that you can really put in the house and expect it to bloom regularly. Yes?
I have a 2-foot tall Xanadu split leaf philodendron that lost all of its leaves because it got too cold, but all of the multi tips are coming out with fresh growth. Can those tips be rooted, or is that something?
I'd wait till it's a little bit warmer, but if you want to cut the tips off and root them, you certainly can.
What, about 6 inch, or what would be a?
You need to have about 2 or 3 inches of stem.
Okay.
Not of the leaf stem, but of the stem that the leaves came out of. We'll look at Xanadu up here in just a minute.
Will the other ones come out along the stems?
Yeah. If it's warm, they'll definitely come out.
Or just let it get more character?
Character, yes, it'll be more valuable. What I want to do at this point, and we'll do this quickly because I know you'll probably have other things to do, but anybody that's interested, let's walk in the greenhouse for a minute and I'll show you a bunch of other plants and just give you a few hints. You can stay and listen if you want. Fine.
Is this considered highlight?
I think I'll just pick right. Actually 60% shade. But it's should grow in that much shade so when they get to your house it'll be less shot. Okay, these are a few. I was telling you there's some different varieties of Chinese evergreen. These are a few of the other varieties that you can see they just have gorgeous leaves. Where you're looking for a big but low-growing house plant, it's just almost impossible to beat Chinese evergreens. I'll point out 2 or 3 others to you as we walk through the greenhouse. That little bitty piece of cane Dracaena Masanjiana that I showed you in there, bigger plant. They just cut a bigger chunk of the cane out of that big, tall, 30-foot plant of the jungle and sprouted it and grew it out. And again, excellent house plant. Now, one thing about plants like this, remember that plant is not growing on its original root system. That was a chunk of cane that somebody took and rooted, and it's not going to have just a huge, huge root system in this pot. When you move this plant around, you carry it by the pot. You don't handle it like some of the drivers want to do, and that is grab it by the cane to lug it around. Very, very bad for the plant. It's like somebody carrying you around by the hair. It's not a real good idea at all. Carrying these things, always carry them by the pot, not by the top of the plant. I told you that Kentia palms were another of the graceful palms that will do with somewhat subdued light. This is a Kentia behind you right here. This is another Kentia back in the corner. Slow growing, expensive, but excellent houseplant because it will grow without a whole lot of light.
Do they come smaller or they tend to be
A little
this
bit
size?
smaller. But when they're smaller, they may not have more than 2 or 3 fronds on them, so they're not really showing. We get them smaller than this, but you rarely ever see them as tiny plants. And again, that plant's probably 5 or 6 years old. You grow a Narika palm that size in a year. And so they are slow, but they are a good plant. Here's the fiddly fig we were talking about, just another ficus pandurata or ficus sliderata, depending on which book you consult. Here's a bigger Kentia palm right here. This plant now, I like it better outside than inside on the patio. But if you have a really big home and you want a really big plant without spending a lot of money, this is one of the 2 common forms of bird of paradise, the so-called Strelitzia. The one that most people think of that has that orange and blue and pink and the multi-colored flower. See a lot of growing in yards in Hawaii. That's Strelitzia regina. This is Strelitzia nicolii, or the white bird of paradise. Has the same sort of flower, but it's not nearly as showy or pretty. But these things will grow, it's not unusual to see them 12, 15, even 20 feet tall. They will take a light freeze, but not a hard freeze. A lot of places in southern, and actually even up parts of northern California, you'll see these things growing out in people's yards. Very, very showy, and if you're looking for a really big house plant that's not too expensive, and if you have lots and lots of light, the white bird of paradise can really be a pretty good choice. This is a Dracaena. Not a Dracaena, I'm sorry, this is a Dieffenbachia. Dieffenbachia, there are many, many kinds of Dieffenbachia. They look a lot like Chinese evergreens. The big difference in a Chinese evergreen and a Dieffenbachia takes a lot more light to grow well. If you're going to grow a Dieffenbachia, it's got to be in a really sunny spot, and it hates cold, just like Chinese evergreen hates cold. Dieffenbachia wants to stay warm pretty much all the time. Now, the common name of this plant that your grandmother probably taught you was dumb cane, D-U-M-B, dumb cane. The reason for that is that the stem of this contains something called picric acid. And if you were to eat it or put a slice of it on your tongue, it makes your vocal cords swell to where you can't speak well, and hence you are dumb, and that's where the name dumb cane comes from. Jason, you don't want your kitties chewing on this one either. They meow real funny for a while. But again, not deadly toxic, but it's not something that I would want a baby or an animal nibbling on. But a great houseplant if you have enough light for it. This plant right here, I don't know why anybody grows it for a house plant, but a lot of people seem to like to. It is a kind of yucca. I guess one thing, it's less expensive than the Dracaenas because it grows somewhat faster, but it is a very bright light plant, and the edges of the leaf are sharp, just as they are on all yuccas. I guess maybe some ladies buy those to punish their husbands or something like that for fooling with their house plants. Anyway, if you like yuccas and want to grow indoors, this is a soft yucca, Yucca elephantites, and it's a pretty good house plant if you once again have lots and lots and lots of light. Other palms, this is one of the little palms I was telling you about that stays pretty dwarf. Commonly known as the Neanthobella palm, sometimes called the parlor palm. One of the better palms to grow indoors if you have moderate light. Even this plant would like to get out on the patio for a while every now and then. Its problem inside, if it gets stressed, it will get spider mites. But of the small, inexpensive indoor palms, Neanthobella is your best choice. More spathiphyllums, all pretty much the same variety. Let me walk around this way and show you a few other things. This is kind of like, you're asking about whether ficus trees always had scale insect problems on them. Again, this is Ficus pandurata, the rubber tree. You can look at the base of it and tell how many times we've cut it back. This plant's probably been growing in the ground there even before we had this greenhouse. Probably been growing here for 15 or 20 years and has never had scale on it. So if it's happy, if it's getting enough light, scale is not really that much of an issue. Here's a little Ficus benjamina that's obviously very happy and growing well. There's another, your fiddle leaf figs, that's up, growing